nervous, but it's always an honor to be by his side. He brings the party with him wherever he goes.
Amen. Praise God. Amen. Thank you.
So, you guys could sit.
Thanks.
Today, sometimes I'll be late up at night. I have this noble grass scribble scrabble line. God gives me things beforehand. And then Pastor Francis puts me up front to preach, and just thank God that he always gives me something beforehand. So, the pieces to the puzzle, it was a title that Francis gave me because he thought mine was too long. But what I want to talk about today is, what do you do when God's promises don't align with your circumstances and experience? And yesterday, I was all day just, I like to take time to just prepare to do the word, and it's really good because it gives me time just to allow God to give me that time to just minister whatever it is that he wants to minister to me before I bring the word in. It was really awesome just spending time with him and him showing me and just bringing me back to at the beginning when he has placed so many things inside of me. So today I want to start with the verse, 1 Corinthians 10:26. And I put it up in the title as well. I'm just going to read it before I start the message. And it says, 1 Corinthians 10:26, "For the earth is the Lord and everything in it." And I just want you guys to just get that word in your heart and in your mind. The earth is the Lord and everything in it. So today I pasted a picture of pieces of the puzzle, and one of them is a square one that doesn't really fit in the puzzle, and that's what I really want to concentrate for us today. And so as always, I always write my notes. So you begin your journey in life. You begin the puzzle. So one of the things that God took me back when I was a youth, and all the dreams and desires that I had as a child, and it's good because it's something that you hold on to, that you want to see come to pass in your life, and these were the things that God was bringing to my heart the other day. And I wanted to do many things, and it was good things, because those are things. You want to go to school, you want to finish school. I wanted to be a nurse, and those are the things that pumps you up to continually move forward as you are a youth. Sometimes you don't have other people depositing things inside of you, so you have to, you have to place those things, those desires, and kind of try to piece all the puzzles together as you're walking in Christ. And those are one of the things that I did when I was a youth. I wanted to be a nurse, and I had that desire in my heart, and I studied and I worked hard, and I said one day this is what I'm going to do, and that's what kept me going in life. That's what kept me moving and looking to the prize and all that. But when I began my journey in before Christ, it was quite a journey. So you begin your journey, you begin the puzzle. So how many of you have ever tried to put a puzzle together? If you get those that are toddlers, they have only like 10 pieces, and you could do that. You can do that in no time. But some of us, if we want to challenge ourselves, we go for the bigger pieces. And I tried it once, and I never did it again. It could be very frustrating. Even you having the picture, it could be very frustrating, because sometimes all the pieces look the same, yet they're not the same. So it's really hard to link them together. So you begin your journey and you begin the puzzle. But a quarter into the puzzle, you begin to feel frustrated, maybe anxious, because what looked like in the outside of the puzzle box, it seemed like it's going to take a long time before the big picture is accomplished. Halfway, you feel like giving up because it's just time consuming and too much energy and too much brain needs to be put in. The pieces seem to look all the same, or maybe confusing and hard to figure out where they go. And this feeling of giving up or saving it for later starts to arise within you. See, so I remember, I spoke a little bit about when I was a youth, but then I remember when I came to Christ. It was in 2005, and I was just a newborn in Christ, and God started not only pouring things from inside of me, but He was also taking things out. And I remember he gave me a vision, and at that moment it was too big for me to grasp. It was too big for me to hold, because where I was before and where I kind of felt like I had so much to be transformed. Although I grabbed that vision and I grabbed that promise and I placed it deep inside in my heart, and I continued to walk with it. But as I continued to walk with it, it wasn't aligning with, my life was not aligning. My adventures, my ups and downs, they were not aligning with what God said, with that big picture. Sometimes it was frustrating. And even in God, as I was walking in God and I was coming to church, things didn't seem to connect with one another. And I questioned myself all the time. I'm like, maybe that picture was just a picture. Maybe that's just what it was. Maybe it was just something that I placed inside of my heart. Maybe it's something that it will never happen. But even as I said that, it was still inside of me. And certain things that God put inside of you, they're really hard to take away. They're really hard to just go in there, grab, and take it out. And it's awesome, and I thank Him for that. So as I walked with God, I saw my circumstance, my situation, a Christian trying to walk and live by His promises, and whatever I thought that was at that moment, to trying to hold on to the dream and the promises that He gave me. So I was like going from back and forth, and maybe I can say maybe I'm not the only one. God gives us a promise and He gives us a vision, and at the moment we're so excited and we're like, yes, we're gonna do this. Just like when we sit down to do a puzzle, we're like, okay, I'm ready. Whatever it takes, I'm gonna put this puzzle together. But when all that becomes frustrating enough, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to give up, or you say, you know what, maybe I have some time to do this later. Maybe it's just not for me right now. And that's how I was in my walk at the beginning with God. And not that I didn't want Him to change me, but the dream and the picture, I would put it aside and say, maybe this is for later. Maybe this is not for right now. But what I didn't know, that God was linking the pieces together. Even with those hard times and even with those hard moments, He was placing each piece where they belong. And I wasn't seeing that. I was seeing, and it was awesome because, it was almost like, yesterday when I was meditating, it was almost like God gave me a little glimpse, a little peek, like He opened the curtain and He's like, okay, Daddy, look at this. This is exactly what you're going to do for me, And from time to time, he does that again and again and again, so that I can know that, yes, this is for you. This is the pieces of the puzzle. I am putting them together. So, so that's what keeps me going. So that's what we do at times, and the first time that I did a puzzle, I never started with the preschoolers. I thought I can do it, so I started to do a big one, and I don't think I even went halfway through. It was too much. I didn't want to put my time and my energy in it. And then at the end, I'm like, well, maybe I could just be happy with the picture that I have. Maybe that's good enough. And sometimes that's how it is in our life. God gives us a promise, and it's good. It sounds really good. But sometimes we don't want everything else that comes with that. The ups, the downs, the transformation, the being in the furnace, and all that good stuff that really links to that great big picture. And at that time, that's where I was. I wanted God to work in me, but I just didn't see the picture coming to life. So, and this feeling of giving up or saving it for later starts to arise within you. You see, God gave your promise a vision, and all of a sudden, it doesn't seem to be aligned with the circumstances, the struggles, and experience of life. And I put this question out there, and I really want you to think about that question. What do we do? What can we do when it all seems like it's not even looking quite like the picture? It all feels a blur. It feels like it's fading away, and you're trying to grab it, but you feel like, it's just too big for me. So what do we do? Do we give up? Do we put it on hold? Do we focus on the problem? Or do we continue to believe in His promises? Do we continue to walk in faith? Do we continue to seek his ways, his wisdom and knowledge? Do we continue to serve and to give it all we have when everything seems a blur? You know? And thinking about this, it brought me back to a lot of characters in the Bible, and the one character that I like a lot was David. You know, and it brought me back to when Samuel, I believe it was, when God had appointed him to go and anoint David, you know, to be king. And sometimes I put myself in his place. Here he is, just, you know, being a kid, just shepherding shepherds, you know, and nothing big, nothing major, you know. And so when Samuel came, you know, he brought all his sons out, but David was not there. And, you know, God said, you know, those are not the one. And I can't even imagine, you know, sometimes I think, what would I do if, you know, if I was just in secret, if God would just, you know, say, okay, I'm going to anoint Johnny to be king, you know. That's a really big picture. And I think about David, and maybe in that time, you know, he was so humble, and he probably thought, well, I mean, I've been a shepherd for a long time, you know, to be king, that's quite big, you know. But David's, it was challenging for him, you know. He was anointed king, and then all of a sudden, you know, he defeated this great giant, you know, and everything was aligning. You know, the pieces were coming together, even though David did not see it. They were coming together. You know, it was like God was just doing his great awesome work, putting those pieces together. But then he comes to Saul's house, and he starts doing great things there. And I could be happy with just being in the king's house, you know, whether it's singing for him or playing the guitar, you know. Whatever it is, you're in a king's house, you know. What more at that point can you want, you know? But God had bigger plans for David. God wanted David to be king, you know, of the nation. And maybe at that time, you know, David was probably like, what's going on? I was appointed king, you know. I was anointed back then. And then all of a sudden Saul goes crazy, and, you know, and he just wants to kill David. And then you think, really, God? Really? Is this the bigger picture? Is this what you have promised me? And, you know, and sometimes in my life, that's how I felt. I felt like, God, you gave me a promise, and I believe you. You know, because when I gave myself to you, I gave my all to you, you know. I told you, you are the master of my life. You are the father of my life. You know, but I can't turn back. We can't turn back. You know, but at times we continue to walk, and everything's just a blur. We just don't see it. And so when I think about David, I'm like, wow, maybe that's how he felt, because he had to run and hide. And he's saying, like, where's the kingship here? You know, I thought I was king, but yet look at where I am, hiding. You know, like, really, what's going on? It doesn't seem to be aligned with what God has promised me. And at times I felt that way, you know. And, you know, and thank God that, you know, I have just let God just really use me. And I feel like there is no other choice. The choice that I made was to give my life to Christ. And that's the best choice that I've made. But even though when I feel that things are a blur, I say, you know what, God, I'm not going back to where I was. You know, because looking at the things that you have done in my life, you know, he hasn't even used the pieces to the puzzle that I once wanted to throw away because I thought it was not useful, you know. It wasn't needed. So what do we do? And I just want to read a couple of scriptures that I have here. And the first one is Habakkuk. I think I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes, he will be honored to hear you say his name. Like that, that's us.
3.
The way you say it, yes. So Habakkuk?
Oh, yes, 2:3. And it says, For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end, and it will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come, and I will not delay. And I was talking to a coworker of mine, and you know, we was just talking about just normal stuff, and I said, you know, she was just talking about her life, and you know, I was just talking about all the great things, and I said, you know, this is what I'm going to preach about on Sunday, and this is when I didn't know, because this is me. Sometimes God gives me something, and here I go again, saying, okay, well maybe that's for later, and I didn't know what God wanted me to bring today. And she says, oh, we were speaking about this yesterday at my church. And I felt, okay, this is exactly what God wants me to give. And she gave me that verse, and I read that verse, and it just really, really hit the spot, And I'm just going to read it again. It says, "For the revelations await an appointed time. It speaks of the end, and it will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come, and it will not delay." And it just reminds me, and it took me back of that 2005, that summer of 2005, when God brought that dream, that vision to me, and He placed that promise in me, and how good it felt, and yet it felt like it was so far away, and I needed so many preparations to be able to do that. And still today, I tell Francis, I'm like, I don't know how God wants me to preach to many people, because I can't even preach sometimes to 5 people. I get so nervous. I said, so that's when, the doubt comes, and that's when the blur comes, where it's like, really, God? I can even sit here and preach to 5 people because I get a nervous wreck. My stomach starts hurting, and I start feeling like I'm gonna get sick. I start getting cold feet, and I'm like, so that picture that you showed me, that promise, sometimes it seems too big for me to grab, and that's when it becomes to be a blur. And even when it becomes to be a blur, I'm like, you know what? I might not feel it, but I do know that it's coming. And I do know that God is preparing me for that. And whatever it is that He has for me, He will put the pieces where they belong.
Amen.
The second verse that I want to read is 1 Corinthians 9:24. 1 Corinthians 9:24. And it says, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize." And when I read this, this is what makes me keep going, His word. That even when I see that things are a blur, and even when I think that that's going to be for tomorrow, this verse I like because it motivates me to continue to run the race. That there is a prize for me, that God has promised it. And that's what keeps me just, holding on to that promise and holding on to that dream, rather than letting it fade away. I could easily tell Francis, you know what, Pastor Francis, I think I need more time of preparation before I can go up there. And because that's me. I wouldn't care to say that, But that's not what God has created me to be or do or say, He has created me to be bold in Him and continue to move forward even when I think that I'm not capable of it.
Amen,
and even when I am nervous, He continues to tell me, Jadi, you gave your life to me, yet I am the master of this great piece that I have designed. Not only your life, but all those around you. And that's what keeps me going, that even when I feel fearful, I say, okay, I'm going to grab on to His promises, and I'm going to move forward, even if I'm nervous, because I'm not a quitter. That's not who I am. That's not what God created me to be. And the third verse that I want to read is Romans 12:12. Romans 12:12. And it says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. And another verse, it's just like, be joyful in hope. Hope is what sustains you. It's what makes you joyful. Even when the picture looks like it's just not quite what you think it is, continue to be joyful. You will see it.
Awesome.
Be patient in affliction. And this is one of the things that I really had to let God work in me, because when affliction comes, there's no patience. It's almost like patience just runs out the door. And then you continue to see yourself doing that. Placing a square puzzle in a circle. You know that it's not going to fit. But you want it to fit. You want to make it fit. And that's what affliction sometimes does to us. It just wants to just bring us outside the puzzle, outside the picture of what God really has for us. So I have really learned to have patience in my affliction. You know, my coworkers, they see me and they're like, you're always so positive, you know, you're always lifting people up, you know. But I've learned, you know, when I didn't serve Christ, that's all I lived. I lived in my affliction. There was no hope. There was no positive. That's all. I just drowned myself in the affliction. I just let the life's ups and downs just really, damage me in that way. But today I'm like, why am I going to be, so not happy in affliction when times come, hard times come? So I say to myself, yeah, it's hard, but it's like the word says, there will be joy in the morning. And that's what I stick to. When my affliction comes, I say, tomorrow, this is not going to be here. Tomorrow, God is going to fix whatever it is causing this affliction. Because that's who He is. He wants to fix us. He wants to fix the things inside of us. So do not ignore the puzzle maker's picture promised in your life. God gave us a glimpse of what it will look like when He gave His only Son to die for us. And yesterday as I read this, all I could do was cry. Because although I didn't need a picture, when I came to Christ to show me what He was going to do for me, He was still gracious enough to give it to me so that I can hold on to it. Because, even way before I was born, He gave His Son for us to die. That was the ultimate picture. Like, if we keep our eyes in that picture, everything else would not matter, because that was His promise for us, that He would give His Son, So, yesterday when I was reading this, I'm like, if I look at a picture and I see Jesus and His blood, that should be enough for me, because that was the blood that He shed for me. But yet God still gave me, another promise. He said, okay, Jody, you do know that Christ died for you and He shed His blood for you. But, maybe you feel that was back then and that was there. And maybe you need something else to keep you motivated and moving forward. He knows my mind. He knows my heart. Maybe that's what I needed. Not that I'm not grateful for what Jesus did, but at times we do take that lightly. Like it's not important. So yesterday, I sat back and my nephew, he drew this really nice picture for Francis and I. And it's like a red picture and it has a heart. But in the back of the heart, it says a war. And then he put a heart on top of it, which is like love over war. And I look at that picture when Francis drives me crazy. It reminds me like, Johnny, love over war, love over world, love over war. So peace, love, But when I was looking at that picture, it just reminded me of just really the ultimate picture that God painted for us. And that no other picture can compare to that. And, but still, He gives us promises. And still, He paints new pictures for us all the time so that it could motivate us to continue to move forward. That itself is a great picture. The masterpiece to the puzzle, His blood. That's when the puzzle began to be in your life. That's when the puzzle began to be in your life. Way before you gave yourself to God, He had already given Himself to you. He holds the pieces to the puzzle in His hands. And one by one, He is placing it exactly where they belong in your life. Little by little, He gives to you a glimpse of what it looks like. I didn't finish making a puzzle, but I can imagine the people that do take their time to the puzzle. They probably sit back little by little when they accomplish something and be like, wow, this looks awesome. This is my work, and this is why I want to keep going, because look at how great it looks. And, that's how God is. He puts little pieces at a time. And I can't even imagine how He looks at it and says, wow, look at Johnny, look at Francis, look at Pastor Jose, look at Yvette. Look at the greatness that I'm doing, that they are letting me do in their life, for not giving up, for not turning back. So rather than rushing God, because in 2 Peter 3:8 it says, but do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. And when I think about that, sometimes we do want to rush God and what He is doing in our life. And we miss out on what He's doing today because we're thinking about tomorrow and what we want to accomplish tomorrow. But, that's another thing that God has really been just helping me in my life to don't worry about tomorrow, but the promises that he gave me, I am living it today, because day by day he gives me an opportunity to speak his word, to be his hands and feet, to love others, to care for others, and that is, in the process of the promises, that is exactly what he wants us to do. So let those pieces that he puts in your life draw you closer to him, your attention and your focus, that it will be all to the master who is creating the puzzle. As he placed them where he wants them and where they belong, enjoy it. Even if it's not the picture you want, at the end, you will rejoice in his work in your life, because he knows what we need and when we need it. So as we are waiting, what do we do? What did David do while he was waiting? What did David do while he was hiding and running from Saul because he went crazy and he couldn't handle that others were seeing what God did place in David, He couldn't take it, So what do we do? Sometimes I think back in my life, it's like, what did I do when things seem so chaotic in my life, Sometimes I just froze and I let life just really tear me down, And then sometimes I just cried, But being in Christ, we are made new, we are created new, and that's not what God wants, He wants us to continue to walk in his promise just like David did. He wants us to continue to believe in his plans, just like Esther believed. He wants us to continue to serve even in our pain. Even when the picture seems blurred, we have to continue to serve, because that's what we promised him. We promised him that we would give our life to him, and our life means everything, not just half of it. Our life doesn't mean when bad moments come that we're going to put it on stop and we're going to say, hold on, God. Right now, I can't. Right now, I'm going to put you on hold until I go through whatever I'm going through. That's not what God wants us to do. He wants us to continue to serve. He wants us to continue to love and care for others, because, Jesus, to the end, that's exactly what he did for us. And he showed it to us even, in the cross, that he was loved, and he loved us even when we were not worthy to be loved, even when we didn't, accept him. That's what he did for us. And that we continue to be his hands and feet, God could do everything himself if he wants to, if he chooses, if he pleases. But he pleased to use us, our hands, our feet, our mouth, our ears, our eyes, to serve him. And so when the picture doesn't seem to look like what we think it's supposed to look like, and we stop being his hands and feet, what are we going to do? So to finish up, I always like to give a small testimony, because Francis is just putting the scissors up for me.
Is he?
Yeah. So I just want to share a little bit about a small testimony. Before I came to Christ, I had a picture of what my life would look like. I thought it was a good picture, the one I had created in my mind. And it was. Being a nurse to me was awesome. It was something that really, kept me moving. Even when I didn't see everything moving according to what I wanted, but it was something that my heart desires and that I wanted to do, and that's what kept me moving as a youth. But when I became married at the age of 14, and I became to have a child at the age of 15, the picture was not looking quite like I had imagined. Everything started just flowing out the window. Okay, this is not going to happen. I have to put this on hold, and I have to put that on hold. So life, little by little, it was fading away. Little by little, my big picture of becoming someone that I thought would make me, life became sour, bitter, and without hope, full of pain and brokenness. Little by little, I began to throw away and lose whatever little bit of the picture I had always desired and wanted. And one of my great desires is I wanted to be loved, and I wanted to be cared for. And that's what I always, wanted. But as I grew older and life became crowded with disappointment, I cried out to God, to the God that I never knew, but the God that I always heard of. I always heard of people talking about this God that does so many things. So I began to pray. I began to pray to him. That God that I didn't really know personally, but still prayed to him and cried out to him in desperation for a change, for a hope, for a greater picture, for a greater tomorrow. One day, this amazing man began to speak back to my life. This man that I prayed for, that I never knew. Every night when I called myself to sleep, he began to make something out of what I thought was nothing. He began to love me just the way I was. I began to love him back. And it reminds me about this verse that it says, 1 John 4:19, that we love because he loved us first. So that's, him showing me his love, I was able to really love him back because, he's the ultimate one that loves. And all this time, those pieces that I had thrown away, to love and to be loved, and to care and to be cared for, to have hope again, but this time, hope in God, to experience a new life. And one day he said to me, he said, Jai, while you were giving up, and the pieces that you were throwing away, I was holding them all because I knew that one day you will come back to me. So even though those, you can name whatever it is that you throw away in your life, whatever it is, whether are good things or bad things. Sometimes we tend to throw away the bad things because we're like, what good is that going to be in my life, And God took me back to when I was young, and he did like a video yesterday in my life, and I'm like, wow, all those things really created character in me and really did great things inside of me. And that's what he did. He took all those pieces, whether good or bad, and and he hold them. And when I said to him, yes, here I am, he began to do the work in me. Today I hold on to the promises he has made for me and for my loved ones. How he will use my past to bring light into other people's life. Today I can see the picture without a blur. Today I understand his plan for me, and what one day seems so far away, today I can see it close. Today his spirit has placed in me the guidance to guide me and to continue letting him be my master. And instead of me grabbing a piece of puzzle, I give it to him and let him put where he sees fits. And when life's ups and downs wants to show me otherwise, I keep my eyes on the prize. He promised that his plans are bigger than our plans, and it is in his plans that I want to walk in. He created me to love, to share his love, to spread his word, to bring hope and life to others that have lost it. I will not want my puzzle to look any other way than the way God has pictured it. And I just want to read, to close up, I want to read, if we can all go to Psalm 71. Psalm 71:19.
Amen.
71:19. It says, your righteousness reached to the sky, O God.
He said amen. Pastor Francis is like, yeah, man, back on. Amen to that verse. 71?
71:19.
19.
Your righteousness reached to the skies, O God. You have done great things. Who, O God, is like you?
Amen.
So I want to leave you with this question. You don't have to answer me. What does your puzzle look like? What do you want your puzzle to look like? We all part of his puzzle, part of his master plan. We are his creation. So although sometimes we think that the puzzle that he's creating is only for us, it's not only for us. And it just makes me think about that his picture, his master plan, it's for all his children to come to love him and to know him and to one day be with him. And that's why he continues to just, keep putting those pieces in our life because, we are part of a bigger plan. And that's what we are here for. That's what we are created to do. We are here to be his hands and feet and to bring all those pieces of puzzles that I had spread that once knew him and probably forgot him now, and those that don't know him and that are, just eager to need someone to really mold their life. And so I'm just going to leave it here and just have Pastor Francis close us in prayer.
Awesome.